Adolf Hitler's rise to power is one of history's most chilling tales of how a democracy can crumble under the weight of economic despair, political miscalculations, and the ruthless ambition of a single man. From his beginnings as a failed artist to becoming the dictator of Nazi Germany, Hitler's ascent was fueled by propaganda, manipulation, and a keen sense of timing in a deeply troubled nation. Let's explore in detail how this transformation unfolded.
Du meine Arbeit für richtig hältst, ob du glaubst, dass ich fleißig gewesen bin, dass ich gearbeitet habe, dass ich mich in diesen Jahren für dich eingesetzt habe, dass ich anständig meine Zeit verwendet habe im Dienste meines Volkes. Gib du jetzt deine Stimme ab. Wenn ja, dann tritt für mich ein, so wie ich für dich eingetreten bin.
World War I was a devastating conflict that reshaped Europe, and Germany was left particularly shattered. In 1918, the war ended with Germany's defeat, and the consequences were severe. The Treaty of Versailles, signed in 1919, imposed harsh penalties on Germany, massive war reparations, territorial losses, military restrictions, and the infamous war guilt clause that forced Germany to accept full responsibility for the war. This treaty was a national humiliation and a bitter pill that left many Germans feeling angry and betrayed. Post-war Germany was plunged into economic turmoil and political chaos. The Weimar Republic, Germany's new democratic government, struggled to maintain stability. Hyperinflation in the early 1920s wiped out savings and led to widespread poverty. People needed wheelbarrows of cash just to buy a loaf of bread. For many Germans, democracy seemed incapable of solving their problems, and extremist parties on both the left and right began to gain traction. Amidst this environment, Adolf Hitler, an Austrian-born former soldier, found his calling in politics. In 1919, he joined a small nationalist group called the German Workers' Party, attracted by their anti-Semitic, anti-communist, and nationalist rhetoric. Hitler quickly rose through the ranks due to his fiery speeches and magnetic presence, becoming the leader of the party in 1921. Under his leadership, the party rebranded itself as the National Socialist German Workers' Party, or the Nazi Party. Hitler's oratory skills were unmatched. He knew how to tap into the anger and fear of the German people, presenting himself and the Nazi Party as the saviors of a nation in crisis. His speeches were full of passionate rhetoric, blaming Germany's woes on the November criminals, who signed the Treaty of Versailles, communists, and particularly Jews, whom he scapegoated as the root of all Germany's problems. In 1923, Hitler made his first major move to seize power: the Beer Hall Putsch. Inspired by Mussolini's successful march on Rome, Hitler and his followers attempted a coup in Munich, hoping to overthrow the Weimar government. The coup was poorly planned and quickly crushed by the police. Hitler was arrested and sentenced to 5 years in prison for treason, though he served only 9 months. During this time, he wrote Mein Kampf, My Struggle, a book that outlined his vision for Germany's future. In it, he articulated his ideas of Aryan racial superiority, anti-Semitism, and the need for German territorial expansion, or Lebensraum, living space. After his release from prison, Hitler changed tactics. He realized that he couldn't seize power by force. Instead, he would have to work within the democratic system and undermine it from within. Throughout the late 1920s, the Nazi Party slowly rebuilt, focusing on spreading its propaganda and expanding its base of support. The Nazis used posters, radio broadcasts, and mass rallies to reach the German public. They employed innovative propaganda techniques, turning Hitler into a messianic figure who could restore Germany's greatness. By 1929, Germany was beginning to recover economically. But the Great Depression hit that year, plunging the world into a severe economic downturn. Germany, still reeling from the aftermath of World War I, was particularly hard hit. Unemployment skyrocketed, banks collapsed, and millions of Germans lost their jobs, homes, and savings. The economic crisis shattered any remaining confidence in the Weimar Republic, which seemed helpless in the face of such widespread suffering. The Nazis seized this opportunity, portraying themselves as the only party capable of rescuing Germany. They promised jobs, economic stability, and a return to national pride. Hitler's message of hope, coupled with his blame of scapegoats like Jews and communists, resonated with a desperate population. In the 1932 elections, the Nazi Party became the largest party in the Reichstag, Germany's parliament, winning 37% of the vote. However, they did not have an outright majority, and Germany's political system was deeply fractured. In January 1933, through a series of backroom deals, political miscalculations, and the belief among conservative elites that they could control him, Hitler was appointed Chancellor of Germany. President Paul von Hindenburg, under pressure from advisors who underestimated Hitler's ambition, reluctantly agreed to the appointment, believing it would stabilize the government. Instead, it marked the beginning of the end for German democracy. Once in power, Hitler wasted no time in consolidating his authority. In February 1933, the Reichstag building, home to the German parliament, was set on fire. The Nazis blamed the fire on communists, using it as a pretext to push through the Reichstag fire decree, which suspended civil liberties and allowed for the arrest of political opponents. Thousands of communists, socialists, and other dissenters were imprisoned, effectively silencing Hitler's rivals. Hitler then moved to eliminate the last barriers to his absolute control. In March 1933, he introduced the Enabling Act, which gave him the power to enact laws without the Reichstag's approval, effectively granting him dictatorial powers. This act passed due to the intimidation of opposition members and the absence of communist deputies who were imprisoned or forced into hiding. With the Enabling Act, Hitler dismantled the democratic foundations of the Weimar Republic. Over the next year, Hitler took further steps to secure his position. In 1934, President Hindenburg died, and Hitler merged the offices of Chancellor and President, declaring himself the Führer, or leader, of Germany. The military, which had been wary of Hitler, was coerced into swearing an oath of personal loyalty to him rather than to the state. The Night of the Long Knives in 1934 saw Hitler purge potential rivals within the Nazi Party itself, including leaders of the SA, his former paramilitary force, who had become too powerful and independent-minded for his liking. By 1935, Hitler's totalitarian regime was firmly in place. The Nazis controlled every aspect of German life, from the media and education to the economy and the military. Propaganda glorified Hitler as the nation's savior, while dissent was ruthlessly suppressed by the Gestapo, the secret police. The Nuremberg Laws of 1935 institutionalized racism, stripping Jews of their rights as citizens and setting the stage for the horrors that would follow. Hitler's rise to power was not just the result of his cunning and ruthlessness, it was also a reflection of the weaknesses within German society. Economic despair, political instability, and a fractured democratic system created an environment where extreme solutions could take hold. Hitler's ability to manipulate public opinion, exploit the fears and hopes of the German people, and eliminate his enemies allowed him to transform from a fringe politician to the dictator of a powerful nation. His ascent serves as a cautionary tale of how fragile democracy can be and the dangers of charismatic leaders who exploit crises for their own gain. It is a reminder of the importance of vigilance, the rule of law, and the protection of democratic institutions against those who would seek to undermine them for the sake of power.